Did you know that 1 in 3 Canadian women, they have pelvic floor dysfunction? Yep, and happens to be it's not a women's thing only, because men can have it too. What good posture can do for you? Good posture, along with correct breathing pattern, can help us out to keep off our weight. And it makes sense because it increases our energy expenditure by 20%. If you think about it, there is a difference between trying to keep a good toning of trunk and all the muscles to hold a nice posture as opposed to being slouched. When we are slouched, it is as if we are just letting them go. And obviously we get a better shape, like our body gets into better shape. We look better, improves our self-confidence. Yes, and also if we add breath work to any workout we do, that workout is gonna become more we're gonna be more efficient. And I'll explain why later on. And yeah, no crunches. Crunches are just not good. And I'll explain why later on. Also, this is very important. Good posture and correct breathing improves or optimizes pelvic floor function. It helps out to relax when we're anxious or stressed out. It is really a stress management tool for us to have, and very portable too. Yes, a good breathing technique is very portable. You can use it wherever you are. There are many types of breath that one can practice to downregulate the autonomic system, to calm down, and just to have a better body function. What happens after we hold a bad posture for a long time? Well, because it's been for such a long time, we might not be conscious or aware of it. It indeed affects our breathing and our lung capacity. Lung capacity is as an average 4 liters in women, 6 in men. Makes our abdominal weaker, overloads our spine. Remember the kinetic chain, everything is connected from the crown of our head to our toes and creates muscle imbalances. By muscle imbalances, what I mean is that some muscle knots, like I'm pretty sure you've heard like muscle spasm, muscle knots. So it's just tightness. They are muscles who are reacting, trying to compensate the weakness of other muscles. So they are not the bad guys. They are just trying to help, we might not be listening well to our bodies. Which breathing pattern do you have? Well, there are let's start with saying that the diaphragmatic breathing is the one that has therapeutic effects. Yes, yay for the diaphragmatic breathing. Well, there are 3 others. Belly breathing is when we inhale, the belly rises, and so we push our belly forward, which is not too bad. Chest breathing, we're inhaling, however, we're not raising our belly, just using the chest muscles. And this is a very common one, especially for a fast pace of life. We have sedentary environments, which condition us to breathe shallowly. Our respiratory rate becomes faster, we're breathing faster, and and we're not breathing in fully and deeply. We are not exhaling fully. So yeah, this chest breathing is very, very common, and it's related to chronic stress. The other one, paradoxical breathing, this one is common too, and happens to be people who have it, they are totally unaware of it. It's when one inhale in the belly instead of rising, it falls, like as if you were throwing your belly button towards your spine. It's doing that instead of rising. So that's why the name of paradoxical comes. And that one takes a lot of work to fix. So when we inhale, the air comes in, and the diaphragm, this muscle that looks like a umbrella, anterior and posterior diaphragm, descends, contract, descend. When we exhale, the diaphragm relaxes and all the air comes out. So what happens inside the lung? So the air comes in, as we said, when inhaling, there is a gas exchange inside the alveoli. The oxygen that we had breathed in goes into the bloodstream, and the exchange happens. In return, we get CO2. However, what happens when we are breathing shallowly? This gas exchange is happening like way too quickly. We are getting in your blood like way too much oxygen. Sorry, what I meant to say is that we are washing away too much CO2. And what happens is that we get like a tingling sensations, like dizziness. We just enter into panic mode. That's why it is important to have a good exhale, especially if you are feeling panicky or if you are anxious, if you want to calm down. You feel like you're out of breath and you might feel prone to inhale more, when in reality what you need to do really is exhale deeply. Exhale deeply so the balance get restored, and the balance between O2 and CO2. So this is just about the stress response, the homeostasis is the balance. So these are the biological system is in balance. So here you can see a person who is healthy when is under stress. Depending on the stress coping strategies of every person, if stress is reversible, then goes away. However, if the stress or the trigger is not removed, if the conflict doesn't get resolved, then the stress becomes chronic, and that promotes inflammation. That chronic inflammation can lead to metabolic syndrome, and as you know, metabolic syndrome leads to metabolic disorders and associated diseases like diabetes, atherosclerosis. So homeostasis is a dynamic balance between these autonomic branches, this parasympathetic and the sympathetic. The sympathetic is the fight-flight response when you are running away from a snake or a tiger. Whereas the parasympathetic when we're resting, digesting, and yeah. So a good balance between these two determines our good health. Our modern life. There is no snake, there is no tiger, but we might be still on fight-flight mode with a chronically sympathetic nervous system activated. So just a quick recap: parasympathetic, it promotes slow, deep breaths, and also it slows our heart rate. If you see, there is a close relationship between our respiratory system and our cardiac function. When we are inhaling, our heart rate increases. And when we exhale, our heart rate decreases. This is totally normal. It's called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. And so it's just part of the how much varies our heart rate. And if our heart rate wouldn't be varying like this, if despite of inhaling or exhaling wouldn't happen this, well, that might be not a good sign. And actually some studies use the heart rate variability as an indicator for disease. So you might be wondering whether you are a shallow breather or not. I said before, chest breathing is what predominates, using all those muscles and not using properly the diaphragm. Oops, it went somewhere. Affects the physiology. It means less oxygen into the existing system. It also means activating the sympathetic system, as we know. Sympathetic system is associated with the fight-flight response. Muscular tensions also happen. Headache, aches, mood gets affected when not relaxed, and usually we are unaware of the condition. What a not so good posture looks like. This is a good posture, and the arrows indicate intra-abdominal pressure. So if you see here are the diaphragmatic breathing, takes into account the respiratory diaphragm and the pelvic diaphragm. These two are deeply connected. When we inhale, the respiratory diaphragm contracts and the pelvic floor relaxes. When we exhale, the respiratory diaphragm relaxes and the pelvic floor contracts. That's why how we breathe is deeply connected to how our pelvic floor is functioning. When a muscle works more to compensate another weakness. Here there are several muscles that are involved in hip imbalances. For example, like gluteus maximus, they get to get tight, they are hyperactive when we are gripping our gluteus, our buttocks all day long. If we are a butt gripper, then this guy is very tight. It's tight, and what that means that it's pulling, right? So all the mechanics of the joint get affected. That's why you can end up with hip pain, with a funny look. If you take a picture of yourself, like from your side, looking yourself on the mirror, you can check whether there is some imbalances. But just checking your lumbar curve, what's the shape of your glutes. Just be curious about it. And here it shows like it basically pushes the head of the femur forward in the socket, and that brings lots of problems in the long run. And also is associated with tight hamstrings, because these hamstrings they get tight trying to help out, and they're just trying to help out really, and they get tight, and at the same time they shut the gluteus down. So it's a vicious cycle. The pressure has to go somewhere. When we don't have a good breath pattern, it's also affecting the intra-abdominal pressure. Believe me, if you are not breathing the right way, that's going to affect intra-abdominal pressure. If you're a postpartum person, especially if you're a postpartum person, and you have several risk factors, then yes, the pressure has to go somewhere, and it pops in the weak area, whether it is the pelvic floor, as prolapse, or hernia, like the recti diastasis. Recti diastasis, if you check, this is normal. This is the aponeurosis. That's the very hard tissue to the touch, in between the recti abdominal muscles. And whenever there is a weakness, just get bigger, as you can see here. And there is a dooming look in the abdomen of the person who has it. And you can see a person looks like has a belly, and like, I don't know, could even look like a 6 months pregnant person. And it's not fat, it's not anything, it's just the weakness of the abdominal wall. The glutes are windows to your check. Guess. The glutes are the windows to your pelvis. You can see here how these guys, they do very important job. See how these gluteus minimus is attached to their pelvic bone. Then the medius is on the top of this, and the maximus, so they are the big guys. Especially these two. And you can know whether these two are hypertrophic or weak if you put a hand on your back pockets, as if you were wearing jeans and you put your hand in your back pocket. How do you feel? Do you feel like it's full and round, or do you feel like there is a space there? If you feel there is a space like a pocket really, then might be that these two guys are very weak and you need to strengthen them. And if you take a picture of yourself from your side, you will notice that too. I'm pretty sure you've heard about Kegels, like do your Kegels, do them every day. Yes, however, they are not good for everybody. Everyone's body is just different. So the question will be, what kind of pelvic floor do I have? Is it tight or is it loose? If it is tight, is hypertonic, then you might need more than Kegels. You might need to relearn how to relax, like all the body, especially the pelvic floor. And remember, the pelvic floor relaxes when we inhale. Yes. So if you have a hypotonic, then Kegels are going to be very good for you. I'm not saying that a hypertonic cannot do Kegels, but I'm just that the main focus should be in learning how to relax the pelvic floor, to stretch it and at the same time strengthen the hypotonic. If you have prolapse, sensation of fullness or heaviness on the pelvic floor, that might be your case. And if you have leaking, incontinence, pain, like muscle knots, just remember muscle knots. You can get a muscle knot in your shoulder. Your shoulder is painful, it's tight. Same thing happens in the pelvic floor, because they are just other muscles too, right? They are not different from other parts of our body. It's just we don't pay too much attention to it. So the point is, hypertonic or hypotonic, you can get benefited just by practicing a correct breath pattern, the correct breath technique. So what is your posture like? And in order to know that, you just need to create awareness. Awareness is the first step, body awareness. And that takes mental work, because one moment you can put yourself in a good posture, and the next second, again, you're back into the habit. Because it's a habit, right? We've been doing it like for such a long time. It's very wired. And it's very wired, and we do it in autopilot. And how often are we autopilot? 90% of the time. 90% of the time we're in autopilot, or it's just led by our subconscious. And 10% is consciousness. So try to add to that 10% of consciousness your body. How are you holding your body? What's your posture like? Yeah, and that might involve retraining your breathing. Hands on inhale. We basically focus on feeling belly rising. Also the back body expanding, which is very important. Remember when we explained the types of breathing? The belly breathing. That one, the belly rises, however, but back body expansion doesn't happen, so that's why it's not very good. Often that type of breath is used in yoga. Yeah, and they forget about the back body expansion. We exhale, we engage those guys. We engage our lower transverse abdominals. Engaging the slow TAs and bring the low ribs in and down. That's very important. Remember, this canister is pretty much in connection with the pelvic floor. If there is dysfunction here, well, rib flare can happen too. And the rib flare, they don't look very good. The common postures. This is a good, like neutral posture. Poor posture, you can get tightness here in your frontal muscle, jaw. You're grinding. You clench your jaw. You get tightness, like neck pain. Your upper back, lower back. It's amazing how the places where one can get pain just by not holding a good posture, but just by not having a good breathing pattern. They did a study in people with chronic pain, and the intervention group, they had a postural awareness, and they did exercises to improve their posture, and at the end it happened that these patients, they had their pain reduced just by improving their posture. Isn't that great? I think it is. So it can help you whether you have chronic pain. And also another study, they found that people who are slouching all the time, they are more likely to get metabolic syndrome. And you know, metabolic syndrome leads to diabetes and prediabetes. Yeah, so the common postures are slouching, the head forward posture, This one, you see this person had a head forward posture, bum tucking, as I explained before, when you're gripping your bum all day long. Back gripping. Why they are so bad, like the gripping muscles? Because happens that you would think that tightening the muscles is going to make them stronger. The answer is no. The opposite happens. They become weaker. They become weaker. Gripping muscles are not the best thing to do. It just happens. So if you see this person is gripping the back, trying to compensate, and if you try to go into squat, what's going to happen? Just you're going to have a very pronounced curve here. Whereas the right form from squat will be as if you put a broomstick on your back. And you see here, if you draw a straight line here, more so, it follows. This person who has a anterior pelvic tilt, remember this is very much correlated. The pelvic, how is tilted, is it neutral or is not neutral? If it's not neutral, well, compensations are happening. Chest gripping. Yeah, so this person here, you can see how it's gripping the external obliques. And these other guys, they are so weak. And the chest grippers, they have decreased mobility of the trunk, the rotation and extension, increases the intra-abdominal pressure, and puts you in greater risk for prolapse. The solution is to strengthen deep core muscles as opposed to gripping superficial ones. Are your glutes firing? Remember, your glutes are the window to your pelvis. So your glutes, when they are clenched, decreases the range of motion of your hip. If you are bending forward, squatting, sitting, hinging from the hips, you'll feel pain, because the head of the femur is just pushed forward here, and in the long term, it can lead to impingements. Believe me, nobody wants that. And if you're a bum gripper, if you want to go into squat, you might feel so unbalanced when you are coming into squat, and so much that you raise your hands just to counterbalance the weight. Pain is very common, growing around the pubic symphysis. Just to wrap up, why is so important breath work? Why wouldn't focus just on corrective exercises? Happens to be that our physical body is nourished by fitness and nutrition. We all do that. We all exercise, we all eat well, clean, no processed foods. But what about the other parts, the other layers of our being? Because we are not just physical, just matter. We are vital energy too, and that's very subtle, as we cannot see it, but it's there. That is nourished by the breath, breathing exercises. And also, if you put together breathing exercises with meditation, you can get very great results. Breath work increases the effectiveness of meditation. Hola! So meditation, you can say I'm not doing anything when I'm meditating. However, if shown people who meditate in respect, when they see the blood flow in the brain, there is the blood flow increases in the prefrontal cortex. So it promotes physical and balance restoration, help us attain states of higher coherence, increases sinus entropy, and promoting longevity. And you get to know more about yourself, about your negative thinking. What kind of what's your energy pattern? You know, you have positive thoughts or emotions. What are they like? Something that I like a lot is this phrase: understand the state of harmonious unity, integrity, adjustments of body, breath, and mind into one. Integration is key. Alright, it's time for me to go. So, is this outcome for you? Yes. And remember, it's complementary. Does not substitute doctor's orders. Alright. So the bootcamp is going to be about retraining your breathing pattern. Mindfulness-based body scans, corrective exercise, focus on breathing. Corrective exercises focus on activation of those muscles who are underactive, improve mobility and posture awareness. References, and bye-bye.